episode of The Mind of Reese. I just love I love being a coach. I love being a mentor and educator. I love just having different parts to my business where nothing is reliant on anything. Like at this point in my career where I've been holding, my tattoo business, my tattoo shop business, and as well as my coaching business, when it comes to like income or money, it always comes from different places and I never know where it's going to come from each month. And I kind of like that idea because of the fact that there's always open opportunities for miracles and for just big lump sums of cash happening. And not only that, but it's also just like the flexibility in my businesses. So what I mean by that is that today I had just launched my newest program called Scale, and I have openings for connection calls because since this particular program is in need for me to vet out the people that are going to be joining the program, I can read what it is that they desire, and especially if it doesn't fit the program, I can point them in a better direction. So that happened today, so I had canceled one of the meetings today. And then also one of my VIP Inner Circle artists, my VIP one-on-one Inner Circle artist, she had to move things around. And so my schedule is flexible enough for that to happen. And so instead I just go into my list and I'm like, oh, I could create a podcast today. So here I am in place of doing the other things. And so this is why I love it, because with tattooing alone, I love tattooing. That is my first love. It'll always be my love. But there's not a lot of leeway in that. If someone cancels, that's like my whole day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And especially when it came to like the financial aspect of it, I was like, fuck, like you lose out on a day, you're not working, you're not getting paid. And that's why when I had decided to open up my coaching side of my business and even open up my shop to have artists within it so that I could start making some more passive income, I was realizing that like within the shop, I noticed how it is hard to scale because unless I had a ton of artists or I could invite more artists in, most of the time these artists they're paying a percentage, but you can't charge them more of a percentage. Actually, if they stay longer, you want to give them raises in order for them to, stick around. And then for me, honestly, when it came to charging my artists, I was like, this is the last place where I want to just have scaling income. Like that type of income for my shop, I don't really look at it as like scaling unless I'm doing seminars. So I am going to be utilizing my space for seminar space. But if I'm looking to my artists to create more income, more passive income, it's not really the way I want to look at it, because the space I want to create is for people to come in and be of like minds, creative energy, want to work, want to grow, and want to like fucking do really amazing things, help people, and then make some money. You know what I mean? And so for me, I've made my shop rent so low for my artists because I'm inviting people in that I deemed deserving to be there. And plus, I got to look at it from a perspective, I've got to work with these people. Before when I had my old way of doing shop, when I was charging a percentage, it felt off for me because I never liked being charged a percentage. And even though I offer so much, not only in the way of supplies and clean, healthy space, I also offer all the, I help out with marketing and business. And then I'm also just kind of your mentor and coach just in general, because you have me there in your back pocket, or not even your back pocket, your front pocket, right in front of you, staring at you. It's like, I know what I'm offering, but at the same time, I still didn't feel right taking gosh, it could be anywhere from like $5, or more grand a month. And I was just like, that's just not conducive. And I just felt terrible about that. And I was like, what can I do? So I started charging like a flat rate rent. And so with flat rate rents, it's great for passive income, but it's not great for scaling. So if you're looking to scale, that's when I decided, I was like, oh, well, coaching is something that I really, really love. Like I've always had it in my heart to teach. When I couldn't find my tattoo apprenticeship back in the day, it was, I had thought that what I was going to do was finish my art degree and get my BFA and then, move to Scotland, because I had been granted entry for my MFA, my Master's in Fine Arts, at the University of Glasgow. And I thought I was just going to be like, I'm going to be a poor artist that paints and I'm going to teach. So from then on, I always felt like a teacher. I've always felt like a leader in some industry, even when I was a CPA, even when I was in high school. I've always been a high achiever. It's always been in my nature. And so for me to be in this role 12 years, or what is it? I think it was like 9 years later, I had already, basically I mentored 2 apprentices, and then I've mentored 7 in-person artists because all my artists were really young in the business. And so I helped them create businesses that are really sustainable and help them open up their own shops. And so once I had done that, I was like, okay, I want to do this on a larger scale. And so coaching just felt so natural to happen. And it actually happened before COVID even started. So that when COVID did start and I had this time to really buckle down and I was like, well, I have all this time, let's go for it and just see what happens. I was able to, see where I could go in the coaching aspect of the tattoo industry. And at the time I was like, really, I didn't see anybody else doing it. I started thinking about this in 2019 and started showing up in a more educational type way at the end of 2019 and into 2020, I opened up my first program. And so when I had done that, I opened up my first program. I think it was like $195 to $295 a pop. And I actually ended up scaling that program plus 2 others to $40,000 in extra income with tattooing, not that much that year, but by the end of the year, we were able to tattoo here in California and San Diego. And so I got really lucky with where I was living and everything like that. And I also got lucky with the time off so that I can really kind of create this business. And it was really, for me, in my mind, I was like, oh, this is just a side hustle. Like, if people want this, that's great. I never thought of it as like a main gig until I looked at my year-end profits. And when my year-end profits, like my gross was 40K, and then my net was like 35. So it's like I was only 5K like in expenses. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't realize like how profitable coaching was, because really all you need is a computer and some internet. And so it was like, wow, this actually can, and you could be anywhere and it can scale, because the amount of people that can be a part of your programs, just dependent on how you want to do it. It's like there's so much possibility to it. And so I was like, fuck, this is great. So I really buckled down. And then I quadrupled that amount of money, grossing $167,000 the next year in the full year. So I quadrupled that amount. And I was, still making the money from the shop, and I was still tattooing 3 to 4 days a week. So I was creating this massive income. And it was the first year where I basically doubled my income from making just under 300K the year prior to over 600K last year. And so that's over $500,000. And I was like, oh shit, like that's a lot of money. Like, let's keep going. And so now, I had decided to, let go of my shop. I reopened up a new one this year. This year is very much my integration year. It's my quantum restructuring year, where I've let go of a lot of things that no longer served me, redoing a lot of programs, redoing my shop, realigning with whom I'd like to work with and things like this. And so this year financially it's not going to be, or it might, I'm not going to say that. It still can be. Like, we got 2 months left. I believe in miracles, baby. And you just never know. But from the projection, it's like I already expected not to make as much as I had last year. But because I was redoing my foundation, knowing that I'm going to propel next year and the year after. And so sometimes we have to do that. So that's what we're, when I get into scaling, when I get into this talk of scaling, sometimes you have to do that. You just have to know that, like, hey, we're going to have to put our attention in other places so that we can have the foundation of scaling. And that's with any business. That could be just with the tattooing aspect of your business. And so when I look at, I almost fell off my chair. Oh my God. I almost just ate shit. Oh God, if you were watching YouTube, holy crap, I just scared the shit out of myself. You're welcome. Oh God, yes, I am human. I am alive. So when it comes to the foundational aspects of your tattoo business, you have to have something that's sustainable. And that's why when I've created Scale, I am calling in the people that are already like, I know, like, I love my tattoo business. It's sustainable. It's rock solid. I have maybe a few worthiness things here and there, but at the moment, like, I know how to tattoo. I have good clients. I know that, like, I'd love more soulmate clients, and but at this moment in time, I've got me. And I know that there are artists out there who have that, also might have a very, well-established shop. I have a few people in mind that have been in my spaces of this nature, and I'm just like, okay. And then now their next iteration is wanting to become a coach and wanting to impact more people with the modalities of healing or business or finances. Ryan Roy, he teaches finances. I know that I have one female in my space, China. She's doing she wants to teach safe spaces for people. I have friends like Shine, and I have friends like Dean Gunther. We have all these people that are, they all are doing tattooing, they all own shops, and they're all doing some sort of coaching on the side. And so from my perspective, when I look at it, I'm like, it's just like a natural evolution for most people, especially if you own a shop. You obviously like managing people, so it's like, here's your next evolution. And what I loved about becoming a coach was that not only did I have to step out as a really bold, authoritative leader and expert in the thing that I know, it also taught me how to be brave, and it also taught me that I had actually tighter knit soulmate clients when it came to my tattoo collector than I ever thought, because the more that I showed up as me, the more that these clients came out of the woodwork and were like, fuck yeah. Like, even though I teach a lot on my Instagram, my soulmate clients love it so much because they believe in what I teach. They believe in the way that I teach it. And they love my, the part that I'm just so bold and brave about. It's like my spirituality, like spirit takes over and I'm channeling through, and this is the way that I do business. This is the way that I do life. I'm the embodiment of what I talk about. Like, that's me. That is me. Like, it literally is me. And so people almost gravitate to that, even though my content might not be for them. They're like, oh, but she's tattooing. I want to be a part of that energy. And so in the last 3 years, not only has my business blown up, but it's also, like my business, like all three of my business, I'm a CEO of 3 different businesses, the Art of Reese, which is which is like my brand, which is my tattooing. I have the Edge, which is my studio, and then what we're calling like Inspired right now at this point for coaching. And so we'll be most likely separating the entities in order for me to just create the incomes outside of that for financial reasons, but we won't get into that today. And so the reasons why I'm talking about this is because I want to invite you into the thoughts of, if this is something that you're like, wow, Reese, like, I'm really inspired by that. I'm going to give you the ways that I talked about in my live, actually. I think it would be last week by the time you guys hear this, but I talked about the 7 components on how to really create a sustainable coaching brand outside of your tattooing. And so the reason I feel like this could be for creative entrepreneurs as well, anybody that's a coach in this space and things like this, because I'm helping you learn how to create a coaching business, but then I'm also going to just show you the ways on how I hold all of the businesses that I have. Because normally a lot of us were like, we're not trying to quit tattooing, but at the same time, we would like a little more freedom from it. Like the other day, I had made an extra $2,000 while I was just sitting on my butt, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh shit, like that's awesome, for my programs that are just selling on their own in the back end. And I'm not even talking about them in the front end. I'm not talking about them on social media, just people going to my website because they see what I talk about. They want to explore what I have to offer. And they're like, oh my God, she has all of these things. Like, I want to be a part of it, whether it be my freebies, and then from my freebies, they move on to something that's paid, or whether that be, they just go straight to the paid stuff, or maybe they're just like, they hear about me, through the grapevine. I've been having such beautiful DMs where people are just like asking me questions. And so all we're doing is responding back with where we think they should go. And we have a program for that. It's like, I've created this product suite of programs over the last 3 years that align with people and align with my message and my movement, but align with people when they ask, here's my issue, where do you think I should go? And I'm like, I got a program for that. I got a program for that. And so this is why I love coaching. So if you are trying to get into the educational coaching and mentoring space, this is definitely alive for you. But this is also alive for the people that are like, I'm not alive. I keep alive. I mean, a podcast episode for you. And this is also for the people that are also just like, you know, scaling and growing your tattoo business as well. These 7 components are very, very, very driven in that same direction on what I believe in. What I teach in Inspired, I have 5 steps to Inspired on building a really sustainable tattoo business. This is almost like the next step up that I believe, because we have the foundations and then we have the next step. Now, if you're, you are all creative entrepreneurs out there, you're creative, you're very creative. So whatever you hear here, whatever you hear in this podcast is can be applied to your tattoo business. You just got to work it differently. And I'll speak on both sides of it. But, in my IG Live, I did talk about these 7 components. Now I'm just going to dive in a little bit deeper because of the fact that we're a podcast, and to all my homies out there that are, in this podcast space with me, I want to dive in deeper because you guys like the longer form content. I love you for that. So I love you for being here. Okay, so number 1, it's crafting an irresistible offer. Like if you're trying to become a coach, if you're a tattoo artist that's trying to become a mentor, coach, and educator, you have to have an irresistible offer. A lot of times, I think the mistake that happens in the coaching industry, or I see this a lot now, because I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure I was the first person to start teaching business when it came to tattooing. Now, I don't remember anybody. I don't have looked for seminars when it came to this stuff. I don't remember a tattoo artist teaching marketing or business. I only remember maybe marketers teaching tattooers, and like just them trying to niche down into our industry. Now, not saying that they're not out there, but I'm just saying that, like, I remember just being an OG about it and how much hate I got for that. So I took one for the team. But now I love it because I'm seeing so many people out there like really desiring to help others. And that makes me so proud. It's like, this is the whole point of artists helping artists. We are all meant to share wisdom in some capacity. We all have something to teach. We all have something inside of us that we have learned in our own unique experiences that can help others find their own way in their business and find their own way in life. And so I don't want to discount the fact that every single one of you out there, if you desire to teach something, it is out there for you. Now, to create an irresistible offer from what you believe you love to teach is a different story, because you can create a program around something you believe in, but if it's not offered in the way that could really make it irresistible, that makes people go, I need this. It's like a tattoo. If your tattoos are subpar, they're not very greatly done, they don't have good composition, they're not telling a story, the gradation's off, the technique is off, you have all these things and your tattoo's mediocre, not a lot of people are going to say to the product, ooh, I need this. They're going to be like, that's a good tattoo. I might get one. Maybe I'll get one when I feel the need. Maybe I'll find out what I want, blah, 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 blah. Where you'll have people being like, I've never wanted a tattoo. Now I want a tattoo. I don't care what it is. I just want one from you because I love your fucking energy and I love what you represent. And it's like, that's a vibe. And that's the same thing with your programs. So it's like the same thing with your education. It's like, I have something to teach, but the way that I offer it is really, really, really important. So we have to figure out what's that idea that you wished you had. It's like the idea you wished you had when you were a tattoo artist. And now your demographic doesn't have to be tattooers. You don't have to teach anything from tattooing. Shit, you could teach racquetball if you wanted to. It's like, as long as it's coming from your soul and from your pleasure. I know that I had this conversation last week with Anna Gasol about how to lead with pleasure. It's like leading with a fuck yes mentality. It's like, yes, this makes me lit up. So it lights me the fuck up. Like, let's fucking go energy. And so this offer has to be light you the fuck up, because you're not going to sell it otherwise. It's going to take time. And then it also has to it has to be something that maybe you've already done before, because of the fact that it does need to be an offer that someone has expressed the need for it. Like if you needed it once within your lifetime or within your, work or your business, then it's like, okay, yeah, I can create something like this. I wish I had this. I wish I had something like this when I was first starting or when I was doing XYZ. So that's the first part of building this like coaching business. And these are all of the things that I'm going to be diving in depth into scale. And so I want you guys to just understand that I'm going to be touching the surface level of this stuff, but in scale, it's going to be 3 months long. It's a very hands-on training / mentoring / mini mind. Now, what I mean by mini mind, it means that we're going to be a community asking questions. I am going to be asking you questions. You're going to have homework. We are going to get nitty gritty into your business. Like I want to know all the ins and outs so that I can help you the best to my ability. And that's why I'm like, okay, this is going to be a lot of fun. But that's also why I'm only inviting in like anywhere from 4 to 8 artists in this space because it's going to be so time consuming for me. Now, the second thing is we got to rise up and lead, motherfucker. That's the line for me. It's number 2. It says rise up and lead, motherfucker, because I'm going to tell you right now, the people want to be a part of a movement. And this is the same thing with tattooing. It's like people want to hook onto something. They want to feel like they belong to something. They want to feel at home with something. They want more. They want connection. They want to feel seen. They want to feel heard. And it's like if people want to be a part of a movement and a movement needs a leader and that leader is a representation of that movement, then you need to rise up, motherfucker, and lead. Because the thing is that nobody is going to trust you if you cannot walk yourself through the own things you say you're going to be teaching. You see what I'm saying? Like with tattooing, it's easier because I could just show you how much I've worked on my craft. I could show you with the art. Like that's it. People see that art, but they also see me. And that's why ever since I became a coach, all of a sudden I started showing up more authentically as myself. I started calling in even better soulmate clients. And I didn't even think it could get better. I was like, there's no way it could get better. Like, this is already so good. Everybody's paying me my prices. Nobody's haggling me. And I thought that was the toppity top. I was like, perfect. And unfortunately, when it came to my tattooing, it was like, I can't scale so much in tattooing either because first off, I'm only doing one-on-one. And second, I can only raise my prices so much, where to the point where I'm like I can't raise it $100 an hour. I mean, I guess I could. Honestly, if I really wanted to, I guess I could. But at the end of the day, it's like I don't want to raise my prices $100 an hour where my clients are so dysregulated by that new price that they're just not going to come back at that time. I like to think about the calibration it takes and the time calibration necessary for my clients to understand, like, okay, she's raising her prices. I can wrap my nervous system around this. I can definitely afford this. Like, this is what we want. And so when it came to tattooing, it was like $25, once a year or every other, or twice a year. And that was good. And I was like, this is Stoke is strong. So when I started becoming a coach, I didn't realize that, I had a launch that was $85,000. Like I had made $85,000 in sales in one launch, and I brought in $40,000 in cash from that launch. So what I mean by sales is that either people were going in monthly payments or they were paying in full. But in the sale, the whole sale, how much it is, how much I will make from it is $85,000. But the amount of money I made in cash that month, not even that month, in those 2 weeks that I launched, I was like, I just made $40,000 in 2 weeks, where that's normally how much I make in 2 months if I'm working the amount of hours I'm meant to be working on the days I'm meant to be working. So it's like I had to make sure with my tattooing that I was working X amount of days, X amount of hours per those days in order to hit a 20K month. Now that's not always decided by me because, people cancel. People can't sit for as long. So it's it varies from that, which didn't matter. That doesn't matter. I was like, cool, I'm making over 10K months, 15K months. This is awesome. But then all of a sudden to be I can make 40K in 2 weeks, that's a vibe. I was like, this is awesome. This is another level of business. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. And again, I'm only talking numbers because I was like so moved by the fact that I was creating something that I love to create, and I was getting paid a lot of money to do so. And it was easy to scale from that place. Now, I love what I do. I cannot reiterate that enough. That is first and foremost. Do not try coaching or educating or whatever just because you think you're going to make some extra cash on the side. You may, but there is no way that you'll make the level of money you will make when you love the thing. When you love it with the wholeheartedness of your soul, when it brings you so much fucking pleasure, you would do it for free. Totally meant to interrupt this podcast for this beautiful new program I am just dropping, this container called Scale, where I am going to walk you through the 7 components to creating a separate passive income stream in the way of education, coaching, and mentoring. So if you have always desired in your soul that you are meant to be a teacher, an educator, a guide, a healer, a mentor, and you are also tattooing, but you're trying to hold both businesses at once, this container is for you. You're definitely gonna wanna know the 7 components on how to really create a sustainable business, but also how to create a coaching business. So this is basically the blueprint on how to create a thriving coaching business, and something I'm going to be walking you through trainings, through live calls, through group coaching, as well as one-on-one coaching with me especially. Because big business, big energy, baby. If you're ready to create that tattoo empire, this is for you. Check the show notes. The link is there. Hop on a connection call with me, and we'll see what we can do. That's what I'm saying. And I was doing it for free for a long time in the DMs, especially because I was like, man, I want to help you. I want to see you win. And then I started to realize that I needed to create the boundaries because I couldn't give everything for free. I had to understand that. It's like giving away free tattoos. I love doing it, but I can't do that forever because it's not sustainable. And so that's what I mean. So it's like you've got to be able to be the leader of your movement. You represent the movement. You are who you are. This is what you're teaching. This is what you're leading. That's what you're doing. Okay? Number 3, diversifying your communities. Now, oftentimes, people were asking me like, Reese, do you have separate things for your separate stuff? And I have a separate thing for my podcast. I have a separate Instagram for just my podcast. I do have a separate Instagram for just my shop. And there's a lot of if you want to find only my tattoos there, you will find my tattoos, but you'll also find a lot of my artist tattoos in there. And then I have my main page. I don't really differentiate much else because I'm like, I am the embodiment of my brand. I am the niche. I am the niche. And like I said before, my soulmate clients became even better soulmate clients the moment I became a coach. Even though the educational content when I was teaching tattooers, what I was doing in business and how to help them, they loved it so much that that's actually a big reason why they chose me over the guy across the street or over the guy across the country or whatever it might be. Like, people are flying trains, cars, planes, boats, whatever it might be, to come get tattooed by me because of what I represent. And a lot of people see that and they're just like, I can't wrap my mind around it. I can't wrap my mind around it. It's because of the way that I make them feel. People buy based off of feeling. Okay? So why I say diversify your communities, learning how to diversify, I have 2 demographics. I have the tattoo collector and I have the tattoo artist. And then I have everybody else, which are like coaches, creative entrepreneurs, all these other people that may not want to get tattoos, but they like the education, but they're not tattoo artists, or, whatever it might be. And so it's like I have these 2 major demographics. These are the people that I'm talking to always. I'm always talking to them. And so I have to understand what content goes where and how I can talk to them both in one piece of content, and how I'm only talking to one person in one piece of content, and how I'm talking to the other in the other piece of content. So it does take a lot of structure and strategy to really be, creating a plan, a strategic plan of action in order for you to diversify the communities, for them to understand. But it's really not as hard as you think. So it's like, I am me wholeheartedly. I love talking about business. I have my values. My values are what create my pillars in my business, and then I just go from there, which is, again, another thing we're going to be getting really nitty-gritty into in Scale. Okay? So diversifying your community. It's like your page is you. It's a personification of who you are. They are assets of you. This is entire asset library of your intellectual property. That's what content is. So that's why content is so important when you are speaking to your community. You have to know who you're speaking to. You know, I am speaking to the spiritual entrepreneur and the spiritual I'm speaking to the spiritual human who loves creativity, who loves growth, and really wants to either blow up their business or get a fucking badass tattoo, ceremony tattoo, or whatever it might be. And so these are the people I'm speaking to. And I can even niche that down even further to really, really identify who I am speaking to, because the clearer I can get with who I'm speaking to, the better I can get at crafting my messages. Okay, because that's a really important part. People are just like showing up online in the online space. And for me, when it comes to tattoo artists, that's all I really want you to do. When it comes to the first step, it's like you can have all of these nitty-gritty crap nonsense, but until you can be brave enough to show up as yourself, I don't even want to teach you anything else, because that's going to be your first point of action. Like, I need you just to be able to show up as yourself. That's why I'm like, if you want to become a coach, get ready to, grab your ankles and bend over, baby, because what's about to happen is that you are going to need to show up in your authentic self and share the messages that you believe in. And you might get a lot of opinions on how people disagree with what you're doing. And at the end of the day, that is what it is. But when you've become a leader in a movement, people are going to try to discredit you. And that's going to happen. And I'm going to get into a whole other episode on haters later. But it's just going to happen. So you have to have conviction in the why you're doing the thing you're doing. And that goes both ways, on the tattoo side and on the coaching side. But on the coaching side, it's more, because you're saying, I'm going to teach you something that I know how to walk myself through. I'm an expert at this. And what I mean by expert just means that you've done it before and you're just 2 steps ahead of the person that maybe has never done it. And that's it. It's like, I was teaching social media at the time. I really wanted to teach meditation, didn't know how to teach it. So I started taking like classes, became certified, all that kind of good stuff. But I was teaching social media, and I wasn't even teaching social media. I was teaching social media hacks. So I was basically collecting all these hacks on how to help people can grow. And it helped a lot. But it was like they were having a hard time converting those people into clients. And so then that's when I started to switch what I was doing. Because as I got better, they got better. And I was like, okay, I'm becoming better. And so it doesn't mean that you can't get better along the way. It doesn't mean you have to be an expert at everything right away, right now. Actually, you'll become an expert in the doing of the thing, in the teaching of the thing. I started to become an expert at social media, especially Instagram, because of the fact that I continued to teach it. And the more I taught it, the more I learned, the more I wanted to learn, because of all the questions that were coming through. I wasn't creating questions that I thought people might have. I was getting asked the questions that they actually had, which helped me create and craft an irresistible offer for people to want to jump in and say, I need this. So it will get better over time. You have to look at it as big business. This is a movement you're creating. Your little business can become big business. Your big business, your business can be bigger than your wildest dreams. Like, I never in a million years thought I would teach anything in the tattoo industry. I was like, I do not want to teach tattoo technique. I do have tattoo technique educational videos out there, which you get in the ARC. So it's like easy peasy, there you go. But it's like, I just don't want to teach technique. Like, I feel like there's a lot of tattooers that are way better at technique than I am. And I'm just like not in the mood to teach that. That's not where I desire to be. I'm like, I love money, and I desire, and I love being authentically expressed. I love having so much integrity with myself and my soul that I can express myself out there, and I can hold myself when people talk shit. Like, that's something that I love walking myself through. And don't get me wrong, I don't fucking love it. I don't like haters, but at the same time, like, I know I'm really good at walking myself through it. And that's when I'm like, oh, I want to help other people do that. I teach social media through the lens of spirituality because I'm helping people heal their own trauma. Social media is always going to bring up what you love and what you hate about yourself. And that's like the funny thing about social media. Social media is a modern day way of showing you your shadows. And so I'm like, oh, cool. Let me teach someone something that they want and actually give them something that they need. This is how I bridge that gap. But it took me time to figure that that's what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do it. I was just too afraid to say it out loud. But it took me time. I needed practice and bravery. Practice taking brave steps over and over again so that I can differentiate, what I was doing and who I was speaking to. So who am I speaking to? It's like, really, what am I selling? It's like, where are they? Where are they in their life? Where are they? For me, for a social media person, I'm like, they don't know how to use social media. That's where they're at. They fucking hate social media. That's where they're at. They have a bad relationship with social media. That's where they're at. Like you guys know. And so it's like, they want to make more money. They want more clients. Like, where do they want to go? They want more money. They want more clients. They want more freedom, more impact. They want to do something different. They know they have it in them to do something big, so they want to do that. And then how do I bridge that gap? What's the vehicle I draw them in? Well, I have a 5-step process. I've created a simple way of doing the thing I'm teaching people to do. I like to create frameworks because of the fact that it's like, here is what you're going to need to do. And it gets people to really understand, Like, I love frameworks for that regard. So if you have these things, you know who you're speaking to, then you can really craft your message around this. And that leads us to number 4. Embodied messaging like a fucking boss. Like, a lot of times with tattooers, we forget that messaging is actually really, really fucking important, And messaging comes in so many forms when it comes to the tattoo artist. It comes in your artwork. What is the message you have in your artwork? What does your message say? What does that say to people? I have really good friends who love to do like the pop art style along with realism and things like this. Like, when I think about their messaging, I'm thinking about like pop art, modern art. Like, they're in a modern art era where they're just trying to craft these really beautiful things, And then we have like the geo peeps. It's like, especially if you're from the spiritual aspect of geometry, it's like, oh, geo opens up the meridians within your, your central like nervous system, and something along the lines of creating chi within your body and how we create that balance of yin and yang. And it's like, there's like so many, you can literally see the messaging within the piece. You look at my tattooing. I have mostly women warrior women. What the fuck does that tell you? I like empowered bitches, and I love them. I love empowered women leaders. Because I'm an empowered women leader. Like, that's what I represent. And then it's also what I represent in my coaching. It's like, I'm just trying to create leaders. As a leader, I'm creating leaders, and I want leaders to create leaders. That's what I want. I want people to be so unapologetically and unfuckwithably expressed, both on the tattoo side and on the coaching side. So my tattoo artists, I want them to be unfuckwithably expressed. And same thing with the people that wear my art. They feel better in their skin. They feel like they can express themselves in a fully unfucked way. They're like, I feel more me in my skin. I want people on both sides to feel like that. So you see, we're bridging this gap. This is what I'm doing. This is the message I'm saying in my tattooing, in my education, in everything that I do online. There's like this macro message that I have, and then there's this micro message that I have. The micro messages are the ones where I'm directing it directly to a specific audience. I'm directing it to a specific person. And we got to get clear on that. And we got to be really clear on that. And the more clear we are, I'm going to tell you right now, not always going to be your best content. It's not going to be the one that gives you all the vanity likes and metrics and whatever nonsense. But it's not supposed to be. Your macro mission, your macro message, sure, can have certain viral aspects to it. But your micro mission, not necessarily. We're only talking to one person. And we're not trying to get a lot of people to like it. We're trying to get people to buy it. Who fucking cares if they like it? I get low engagement all the time. But you know what? Some of the lowest engagement I've had, I mean, gosh, the other day I think I made $12,000 off one podcast episode because someone signed up for my one-on-one. And that was like, I don't even remember when that was. That was sometime like a while ago, where you're realizing that if you can correlate back to how people found your website and your sales page, and they're like, oh, from this particular piece of content, I'm like, cool, because Instagram, yes, is a tool for the two things, right? What we're talking about. One, for your business. It's a funnel for your business. That's all it is. It's a ClickFunnel, and a free one. ClickFunnels, the actual ClickFunnels.com, you have to pay for. Okay, so ClickFunnels, and then obviously for your healing, because the more you are in the online space, the more it will unseat you, because you will see the shadows in the things that you do in the online space. Always. It'll be the best way to start your healing journey, because you will always see something that unseats you, that excites you, that makes you go, fuck, I wish I never posted that. Goes, it makes you feel angry about how many people are liking it. It makes you feel unworthy, makes you feel totally worthy. It makes you feel over the moon. It makes you feel like shit. It's like social media is such a grand, beautiful thing that will teach you so much about yourself so fucking fast. Your spiritual awakening will happen like that. Like that, if you want it to. That's why I love social media. I fucking love social media. I also hate social media sometimes, but you know what? That's like any relationship. Sometimes we're mad at it, sometimes we're not. But how we move through it, that's who we actually are. It's not the me that hates it. It's not the me that loves it. It's the who I am that moves through it is who I am. And that's what I'm showing up as. And that's me being the embodiment of my brand. Okay? So embodied messaging, your stories on how you have walked yourself through a thing, through the very thing that you are teaching, is what's going to empower people to move toward you over you trying to convince them that what you are offering is right for them. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to convince anybody. When I first started coaching, I didn't even think this thing could make me a lot of money. My goal was 100K the first year for sure. I always have big goals. Like, that's just my vibe. And I knew that if I was like, I'm going to make 100K, who do I need to be that is a kind of coach that makes 100K that year? I had to up level big. I invested a lot of money. I did a lot of things in order to do that. I didn't hit it, but that's not the point. I decided that I was going to become the kind of coach that made that kind of money in their first year. And that's what I did. And so ended up, next year, same thing. I didn't really have a goal for the next year. It was like, oh, well, whatever happens, happens kind of vibe. And then it just was like so beautiful. And so, it's like I'm not going to hold the expectation that I'm going to make this tile of money, but I know who I am becoming when I decide that I'm going to make my goals much bigger than what's practical or what I think is practical or what really is like really hairy scary in my mind. Okay. And so when you're picking, when you're doing your messaging, you don't want to be convincing people. The last thing you want to do is be convincing people. So like I was saying, when I started my business, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do. It's going to be hairy scary. At the same time, I just know who I'm becoming in it, but I don't care if I make it. I'm not going to try and convince anybody to come do my programs. I'm also really fucking busy. I'm still tattooing and I'm managing a full shop. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, I've got to manage my tattoo business, manage my shop. I'm still doing all my design work. Like nobody else is doing that for me. I do have an assistant, but it's like, she can't do that. You know what I mean? Like I'm still doing all my designs. I'm still doing the tattooing, So I did have a lot of work. So I looked at it from like a perspective of like, this is just my side gig. And that the tattooing is like, that's my main gig. Like that's what I do right now. And I never thought in a million years that tattooing would be the business that helped me, build another passion. Like most people have other jobs outside of tattooing to support their tattooing. And it's like tattooing supporting me in my other passion, which I find really, really blessed with, honestly. And I find that to be really blessed. And that's what I want for each and every one of you out there is that like, this business is just so good. It's the one that supports you in the other passions that you have, whether that be something that you monetize or whether it's not. And so that's what I want for all of you. And that's why I've created this space is because I want you to have big business. I'm big energy, big business kind of vibes. And actually that brings us to actually not our next one. And number 5 would be soulful sales and soulmate clients. So I had already been talking about soulmate clients, but what I mean by soulful sales, it means that it's something you're selling from your soul. It's like that kind of valued messaging. It's like that creates a product suite that allows people just to get to know you better. Like you have your free content, which is your free intentional intellectual assets from your content. And then people can go a step further by either joining you in emailing lists, Facebook group pages, all these free things, that like can help you up level, upscale, and all these kinds of things. And so with you guys, when we're creating these upgrades, when we're creating these like product suites, we're creating levels of how people can get to know you. And so this is how we create soulful sales, because at the end of the day, people are just going to be convinced that they want to upgrade with it to be in closer proximity with you no matter what, because you have these tiers. So when it comes to your coaching side of your business, you're going to want to create a product suite that is so simplified, but also that leads people to the next thing. It's either upselling or downselling them, but never pushing. I never want to push you. I don't want to talk about all the reasons why you should have it. I don't want to talk about all the pain points you have. It's like if I were to tell people that like, you're never going to feel good about yourself unless you get this tattoo. It's like, what the fuck? That's so fucked up. Like I would never say something like that. And that's how a lot of people in the coaching industry kind of play off why you need the thing that they have. It's like, well, do you want to stay stuck at where you are? No, I want to empower people to move, not make people feel bad and then have them move. Because most of the time when people feel bad, it's never coming from an empowered place, and then they most likely won't see the success that they want to see, and they're mostly the ones that complain a lot. Like for me, I'm so straight up in my programs because I don't have time for people to just waste my time. So if people are not meant to be in my programs, I'm not trying to make money off you. Like I want you to win, but if I already can kind of gauge that you're just looking for a quick win and you're looking for like fast success, then I'm going to be really straight up, and I'm probably going to point you in a different direction. And that's where I hold my integrity. And that's how I know that I'm like, if not this, something better. And every time I say no, I create the empowered no. I create that leadership no of like, no, this person, even though this person's so willing to pay me $5,000 in order for me to give them like X, Y, and Z, I'm like, no, you're not, this isn't for you, darling. Like this isn't for you. And I'm going to be honest with you on that. And it'll create a better relationship with me and them anyway. And then I know that if someone is meant to be in that space, then they're going to be. And it always comes back. It's like good karma. I'm just being good karma. Like I'm not trying to talk you into anything. Actually, I'm trying to vet whether or not you should be in it. Like whether or not I want to work with you. And that's like the whole thing. That's the whole thing on both sides. It's like with tattooing, I choose who I work with, not the other way around. Like I choose who I work with. People can email and DM and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm like very, very, I hold a high boundary when it comes to the people I let enter my spaces, and that's how you should be too. And even if you're just starting out, it's like, yes, there are levels where you're going to have to take on tattoos that you might not want to, especially when you're first starting out. But at the end of the day, the goal is to be able to choose. And if that is your goal, then what type of artist do you need to be to get to that goal? What kind of artist do you think is out there that is choosing who they work with? Think about your product. This will be the first thing you think about. Think about the product. How much time do you actually spend practicing your product? How much time do you actually spend on your design work? It's the same thing with the coaching on that side. Hello, we are just in a little short break because I want to invite you into, not that I haven't been talking about this the entire podcast episode, but my Align and Rise membership. This is for the spiritual tattoo artist and creative entrepreneur who knows that true success, wealth, and freedom not only come from mastering the art of business, but also mastering the art of embodiment. So if you are craving to be a part of a community of spiritual trailblazers who dream fucking big but want to play bigger, if you're ready to up-level your voice and your content and your expression in a way that feels fun, authentic, and converting, or you're just ready to truly connect to intuition to bring more inner and outer wealth, then Align and Rise is for you. This is a place for you to stay plugged into the constant evolution and self-mastery. And I'm talking about over $8,000 in programs for business, marketing, and self-mastery. Right when you sign up, we're talking about live Zoom calls, 2 of them every month with me, And we have daily trainings in Telegram with a community of just badass creative entrepreneurs and spiritual tattoo artists. So if you're really wanting to stay plugged into inspiration and you just are looking for the abundance of more and more on top of more, then this is the place you want to stay plugged into. And guess what? It's only $88 a month. So we're talking about over $8,000 in bonuses right when you come in, talking about $4,000 in value every single month. Plus we're going to be doing guest experts and other seminars every quarter. So you're getting jam-packed of value, inspiration, education, and programs on how to scale and grow your business in a holistic way, all for $88 a month. Check the show notes. Click that link, bitch. I love you. It's like if I'm I'm vetting the people that get to come into my proximity. Like at this, and at this moment in time, a lot of people just end up being so fucking perfect for the thing. I'm like, wow, you're actually really perfect for this. And they're down and we're down, and then we get down together and create some really beautiful things. So soulful sales, again, coming from your soul. Okay. Number 6 is big business, big energy. Big business, big energy. I don't know why I had to say it like that, but I just did. So when it comes to big business, I look at it like this, like, my business is a big motherfucking deal. And if I can get that in my head, whether you're just tattooing or whether you're trying to scale into tattoo empires, your business is a big motherfucking deal. It's a big deal. And until you can think of it like that, then your energy is always going to be a little off kilter. And it's always going to be in the limbo spaces, in the spaces of like uncertainty and, well, if I just take this, and then you're just like, then you lower your standards of not only yourself, but who you take in. And then things just start to kind of like not get to the point where you want to go. And so when I look at big energy, big business, it does take a lot of energy. There's a lot of energy work in this. Like energy is probably one of the most important parts. These last two, number 6 and 7, mastering the inner game and big energy, big business, big energy. It's like, if you guys have ever been in any of my programs, you're going to know that it's like the inner game informs the energetic game. The energetic game informs the strategic game. That's how it goes in that order. What you believe about yourself is the actions you're going to take. What I believe about me is the level of standard that I'm going to hold, and that standard is going to be the type of action I take in the material world. If you want to do it in layman's, the whole, I look at that like analytical side, the logical side, that's how it looks. So whatever you believe about yourself is going to be the filter with which you think about things, and then whatever you think about is literally going to be how you do things in the material world. So these are the main points. Big business, big energy. Think of it that way. Your energy is huge. Walking with your fear is huge. You go first. Your community can only trust you when they can see that you've done it for yourself first. And so it's like, for me, it's not only the numbers, but numbers are so tangible for people in their minds. So that's why I talk about numbers. Numbers to me, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, I'll make $1 million. I already know that. I'm going to make multi-million dollars. Like, I have no doubt about that. Before the time I'm 40, like, I'm going to be making millions of dollars. Like, that's just not, I've always been able to make good money. Money is not the thing. Money is just the energy. But people see money as a tangible thing. They're like, ooh, I see money. But I see money and I look at freedom. I'm like, ooh, I see freedom. Doing whatever the fuck I want, when I want to do it. Like, that to me is freedom. Like, for me, freedom is the fact that I got to, fuck it. I'm sick. I want to upgrade to business. Let me spend $5,000. Yeah. I like experiences. That's what I like. What I want to do is spend $5,000. Oh, I want to go see my brother in Portugal. Okay. Yeah. Planned. I think I planned 3 trips in one day for all next year. I'm going to Portugal, going to Hawaii. We're going to Joshua Tree. And we're talking about like spending money on like the Airbnbs, the hotels, the flights, and everything. Like, I just was like, okay, let's plan all these things out. Let's just do it all in one day. That's freedom to me. It's huge for me. Money, yeah, it's the energy. It's the energy of freedom. Like money, the frequency of money is like freedom, wealth. Like, Inner wealth, like happy, it's like the highest vibrational frequency because it's more. And so it's like, cool, more. And so for me, that's all I care about. Like the fact that I can do that, that's freedom to me. And so money, not a big deal. Yeah, maybe I'm not going to make the same amount of money as I did last year. I still can do that. Like that's the thing. It's like it's not about the money or how much money I make. I just like to have that as like a financial goal because I know who I need to be in order. Like people that make that type of money are not only really smart, but they understand that it comes from an energetic perspective as well as an inner game perspective. It's an intrinsic turn in who you are being, not what you are doing. You can't 10x and make $1 million by doing the same thing. I can't make $1 million by doing tattoos. I can't unless I'm working 5 days a week, charging I forget what kind of money. And I'm sure people get really close, but to make money off doing one-on-ones for the year seems like a lot of physical taxing work. Now, I am trying to make it easier. And the people that can simplify this understand that it takes a level of internal, intrinsic looking within in order to shift their beliefs and what they believe they are capable of. That's how you 10x. So I know this to be true. So that's why I already know I'm a millionaire. Like I'm already a millionaire. Like I've made $1 million plus in the last 2.5 years, you know, in my business since I became a coach. Like that's crazy pants. I didn't even make close to that much money tattooing for the last 7 years prior. Like that's what I'm saying. I had to intrinsically figure out what was going on. And it's funny because like 3 years ago was the 2016, 17, and 18 were my biggest years of like spiritual awakenings, like rock bottoms over and over, like 2 in a row, and just being like, I'm so beaten down, I can't deal with this anymore. And then trying to find myself all over again in those 3 years, and then finally feeling like I can be me and hold my integrity and own my shame and be unfuckwithable. It took me 3 years. And then I started showing up. And that's why I'm like, no, I can help people do this faster. I've already walked myself through this. That's what I want to teach. So it has to be an energetic. And then lastly, of course, you're mastering the inner game. Self-deception and self-sabotage are sneaky motherfucking bastards. They're sneaky, like sneaky little snakes. Which, fuck my life. I saw a fucking 3-foot rattlesnake the other day on our walk. I saw that little rattle thing. I was like, oh shit. But yeah, sneaky little shits, you know. Self-deception and self-sabotage are sneaky little bastards that love to keep us in the comfort zone and playing small. And that's the thing is like, I would not be where I'm at today if it wasn't for me making sure that I checked in with my inner game, with me changing the beliefs that I had within myself. You think I'd be here if where I am without using the tools to alchemize my own fear? I still have fear, and I'm fucking scared most of the times. Like that's just like an intrinsic, almost emotional pattern addiction that I have within my body to have fear, because fear was the only way I knew how to move in my life. And now I just have fear and I notice it and I'm like, am I actually afraid, or am I just having fear because of the fact that like that's something that's a natural response pattern to my body to make sure that I'm moving in productivity? But you see how I can ask myself the question and then completely neutralize the feeling within my body and move throughout the day without being in high beta brainwaves and stressed out. And I could actually be calm when I make my decisions and be an empowered motherfucking leader in all of my businesses, be so fucking like on point, and then give people total leeway. Like I'm not micromanaging my assistant. She fucking does whatever she wants. I trust her to do those things. Like it's like I have a guide and a goal and she knows what that is and she does it well. I'm not going to micromanage the shit out of her. There are moments when I want to go over things for sure. But I'm also at this point where I'm like, if I'm micromanaging her, then I'm basically doing her job, my job, and everybody else's job all at the same time. But see, this inner game work, mastering the inner game and having big business, big energy, you're going to need help. You're going to have help, and you're going to have to trust the help that you have. And if you can't even trust yourself, then you're not going to trust anybody else. So if you can't trust yourself, you can't trust anybody else, and certainly nobody's going to trust you to teach them what you want to teach them. So at the end of the day, those are the 7 components to really starting another side hustle, especially starting a side hustle that's in the educational space. And if that sounds like something you want to do, you have, I think, a couple of weeks left for you to jump on the bandwagon, get on a phone call with me through Scale. Now, I'm not going to lie, we have a lot of people already interested in it. I haven't taken any particular phone calls yet until, actually, I don't know what today is. I think today is November 6th. So I just launched it today. It was the first day I launched it. So I'm taking phone calls from tomorrow on. We're not starting the program until beginning of December. And if you want in, I'm only taking 6 to 8 artists anyway. So if you want to check out the show notes, check out the show notes and see if this is for you. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask me. I love your questions. And if you also just want to, hop on a connection call to see if it's for you, I'm happy to do that as well. Yeah, that's it, you guys. So I hope that was helpful for you today. I know that this was big on basically the 7 components on how to scale your business if you're looking to go into the coaching mentoring industry, but also just like helpful with just your overall business in general. So if this was helpful, please leave a comment or give me a 5-star, give us a follow here on Spotify or Apple TV or anywhere you listen to your podcasting needs. If you do, you could screenshot and send it to me. I love sending gifts over to people. So if you haven't already done so, or if you have done so and you want to just screenshot that, DM me and we'll send you a little gift. I love sending gifts. It really means a lot to me that you guys love this podcast. It just helps me understand that I'm still doing a good job. You guys are giving me that sweet, sweet loving and I want to give it to you back. So I love you and I'll see you in the next